mud truck.
This is the reason that I know you.
Yep.
From the performance trucks pages.
Internet things, four-wheel drive things. So, yep, this is a 95 Z71. Currently has an L33, an S485, 4L80, stock 241 transfer case with like 300,000 miles on it. Front diff, same thing. This thing is a snowball, and here we are.
Yeah. Oh, it's red. Is that new? Wasn't always red before?
No, this is a new turbo. I actually just put this on like 2 weeks ago. Is BS Racing S485 billet wheel 132 housing with a 96 turbine. So completely stock 5.3 aluminum block deal. Like I never even took the heads off. Stock lifters. Literally just slid a BTR camshaft in there. Some good valve springs and lots of prayers.
And this thing looks pretty clean. Like, as far as the frame rails go and everything.
Yeah, so my grandpa bought this truck new in the very, very tail end of 94. It's a 95 model. He picked it up at the end of the year, shortly after I was born, fun fact. But so he was an avid hunter, just went hunting all the time, anywhere he wanted to go. So if there wasn't a road, he was gonna make one. And then when I started driving the truck, and when I was in high school, I started driving it in 2010. I pretty much did the same thing. There was no hole I wasn't gonna hit. It was clapped out, TBI 350, hammer on the wood, go 50 mile an hour. That's all it would do. But it would do it really loud and lots of mud. So I've basically spent the past 4 years since I started this whole LS swap snowball deal. I pretty much spent that entire time regretting all the times I went mudding because it's all ended up in my eye.
Yeah.
So I spent more hours doing that than I have doing anything else, just cleaning. Still has a long way to go, but it's better than it ever was.
Oh man, it looks dang clean. Like, did you repaint the frame rails and stuff when the engine was out?
Yeah, so when I had when the engine was out, I didn't do it the first time around. So originally this truck got an LQ9 I picked up from the junkyard and a tick camshaft in there. We ran it all motor, a little bit of bottle on it for a while. And at that point, I didn't clean anything up. It was just how it was. I just dropped it right in. Sort of never intended to really do the street truck thing. It just happened to. It was just, well, I might as well do that, might as well do that.
But what's going on with that giant hole in the seat there?
So, like I said, my grandpa bought this truck new, and he just drove it everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere he wanted to go, didn't matter. He was gonna take it there. But part of that, as he got older and things happened, he couldn't climb in and out because if you weren't aware, this truck was much higher at one point. It was much, much higher. So he couldn't climb in and out of the truck. He had to sort of do this slide thing. And I've almost changed that seat out probably 20 times, but I just can't bring myself to do it. It's just, it's part of the culture of the truck. It's part of the, you know, it's just there. It's a story that I hold personal to me that'll always be a little trinket. So
I think that's cool. It's like a piece of your grandpa, as if this whole truck wasn't already, but that's like proof that he was here.
I'm sure that he's turning flips in his grave, and I don't think that he ever would have approved of lowering a four-wheel drive truck or doing anything with it, but I don't know. I've kept it clean, I've kept it alive, I've kept it going. And so yeah, I keep him with me in just that small little piece there. So this used to be, you can see here, at some point I got a $500 paint job on this thing. And that is the original green there, and I think I'm gonna go back to it. I hated the green and gold for a long time. It was two-tone top to bottom, so the center section here was gold, and then it was green above and below it. And it's not the coolest paint job in the world, but I don't know, it's growing on me. It's super nostalgic.
Yeah, like back in probably when you started driving this thing, this was just like a old truck.
Yeah.
But now it's been long enough that these are cool again.
Yeah, it's,
and like
it's at least on the cusp of it.
Yeah, and the 90s are coming back as being cool, so you go with that OG two-tone, then it's like,
yeah,
you know, you're living it.
Yeah.
What do you have suspension-wise?
So this is stock leaves, has a flip kit on it, the VAS traction bars, those have been great. Front end wise, I just literally took the stock torsion keys out, flipped them over upside down, and there they are. I definitely need to do something in the shock department. The shocks on the back are the original 300 and something thousand mile front shocks that we relocated and stuffed them in there. And 4 years later, nitrous, boosted launches, you name it, they're still there. Same with the 10 bolt that's back there. That thing has 1 million miles on it, never took the rear cover off. It may or may not have fluid in it. I don't question it. It doesn't leak and it still goes, so that's enough for me.
So you've never checked that rear end since day one of you owning this truck?
Nope, I've never touched it.
So that's probably the same fluid that your grandpa never checked.
Yep. Yeah, I can attest to that it has never been touched. I sort of I'm always trying something, and we recently welded the front diff in the truck. So these things come factory with an open front diff in them, and I never had any issues with it. I just was curious if I could get more bang for my buck out of the front end on it. And I had 300 people and 9,000 comments tell me I was going to blow it up. I'm going to blow it up. It'll just crack the case. It'll never work. And I've just consistently gone faster and faster and faster since I've done it. I'm not so sure it's something I would recommend to somebody, but it's worked for me. The cable thing it works out. So, but when it's locked, it's like having no power steering. You don't turn with it. So if you want to do anything other than go fast in a straight line, don't recommend. If that's your goal, try it out.
And how fast have you been on the nitrous setup and then with the current configuration?
Okay, so with the nitrous setup, that was a 6-liter, a bigger cam, and it had a 4L60 at the time, and we put 150 shot on a plate kit. That went 735 at 92, pretty much the first night out, and ran that number over and over and over every time I grabbed the kit. That was on my street tires, pretty much the very beginning of this thing. So that was a lot of fun, and I did the turbo deal like a little over a year ago, and it took me almost a complete year to match that number. But since then I matched that number, I swapped a few things out, put that new turbo on, and have since picked up about 5 more tenths, so I'm running 690s now at 18 pounds, leaving pretty soft, a 1.5, 60 foot. We're aiming for low 140s and try to ease it up there in the 20, 24 pound range.
You still haven't used the trans brake yet, have you?
No, I have not used it. That's been the least of my concerns at this point. I had a struggle with the truck trying to go left to right on the start sometimes. The front end would get some pretty severe torque steer until I added tie rod sleeves, and that helped tremendously.
You put those tie rods on there from that Jeremy dude on the forums, didn't you?
My buddy Jeremy Rogers with Cunningham Machine hooked me up with a set of milled full tie rod sleeves, jam nut deal, much beefier than the stock stuff. So those made a pretty dramatic difference in the handling of the truck. Helped the program out big time. The CV spacers on there were just something else I was trying, because I've never broken an axle, but twice at the very end of the track, when I get on the brakes down at the past the traps, it pulled an axle out because the nose dove so much that it just pulled it right out of the joint. And so that happened to me twice, once on this side, once on that side. And I just put those in there as an effort to see if it would help alleviate it. And I think it has. I haven't had it happen since then. So the bed of the truck is also green, and I got tired of looking at it. Now that's another thing I was working on. I have to finish up the pump gas setup on the right. So the way the truck runs is
on Michelob Ultra.
On Michelob's. You need lots of these if you want to go fast. That's really a big secret to the whole ordeal. But yeah, so eventually the cell on the right will be a pump gas cell. Cell in the center will be whatever else is spicier at the time.
You ready for some two-step? All right, I'm gonna go over there. Have a name?
I don't know. It's had a couple names. Nothing's really stuck.
What was your grandpa's name?
Clifford. My grandpa's name was Clifford.
Why the heck is this truck not named Clifford?
It was not red.
That's a great name, though.
Yeah. Maybe it will be when it goes green and gold again. The original green and gold. Maybe
Clifford. Just call it Cliff.
Yeah.
Because that's what you want to jump off of every time it breaks.
Yes. Over the last 3 years of me doing this, you know, like I said about the front diff earlier, everyone's like, oh, it'll break. Well, when I first started even racing it in 4-wheel drive, it was, you can't do it, you'll break this, you'll break that. parts will just fly out of it, and the four-wheel drive components have 300,000 whatever miles on it.
So that's been established that these front ends take a beating. The 800s front ends take a beating because that's what Gary Harris is doing.
Yep.
And then the 900s too, because mine's still stock.
Which they're all really similar, you know, minus a couple little deals. Internally, they're all the same size, diff, and everything. So
we're gonna take it for a little drive. We're kind of like in the middle of nowhere here, so there's not really any close gas stations. But he's got some race gas in there now, and some 87 up here. So maybe we can putz around, get into a little bit of boost, make some turbo noises, but I'll splice in some legitimate videos of this truck doing its thing during the editing process, so you can see, because it's a cool little truck, and it looks killer too. Well, this is an interesting process that I wasn't expecting.
but it's effective.
Are you gonna make the tonneau removable at some point? Or are you just gonna...
Ideally, we'll put a big long piano hinge over there, and it's been one of those things that's like, oh yeah, we'll do that, and then it's a non-issue. Like it's a not a big deal.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that, because I have several of those for my own thing.
Big time back burner ordeal. I had a stock tank in it for a really long time, but after seeing about 4 to 5 guys with these trucks spit the drive shaft over there and catch on fire, it was definitely something, like literally just for safety, I wanted to get away from. It's really not bad, like when you're cruising, to have that fender exit, especially if the window's up. I mean, it's pretty mild, to be honest.
See how loud is the windows up?
So like instantly, like dead quiet with the window up. It's so nice that way.
That's just wastegate?
Yeah, that's just gate. About somewhere around 9 pounds or so, it opens up. It'll creep up to 10 on a full pull, but somewhere around 9 it starts cracking open.
It's still getting moving pretty good for 9 pounds on...
Yeah, so at like 9 pounds, it makes, in the ballpark of like 500 wheel, it runs 741. So that's in the ballpark of 500 wheel, maybe give or take a little bit. So for anyone wondering, this is Harold, Florida. And when we make a right-hand turn up here, you will have seen all of it.
Downtown Harold.
Yeah, this is full downtown Harold. It's kind of a lot going on. There's like 6 campers there currently.
Harold. Kicking it in Harold.
So
get a pizza.
Yeah, getting pizza or go to church. There's 2 churches. There are as many churches as there are houses.
And Emerald Coast is a couple miles down the road.
Yeah, and so Emerald Coast Dragway, my home track, is like 6.2 miles away. I'm there all the time. For any given reason, I'm there. Yesterday we were there drifting.
Yeah.
Or watching drifting anyway. Talked about drifting. So, she's a bit spicy, but...
You really make me want to build that Suburban.
Runs, drives, cruise, whatever you want.
Give Megan some noise out the window for a second.
All right.
Sounds nice.
Yeah. Definitely not disappointed in the way that the 485 sounds.
No, that's cool.
This Baptist church up here has seen an oil pressure drop or 10. It's seen a couple. I don't paint 11s in front of the church, but it's seen me come by with a knock at least 2 or 3 times, I think.
Gotta get old Father John in there to baptize your rods.
Yes, that's what that's it. We need to collab with Father John. plug, at least on the main bearings or something like.
Yeah. You get the freaking dingle ball hone out there and.
Yes. Yeah. Father John.
Oh, there he is right there.
Yeah.
Father Son, holy main bearing.
Yep.
Well, that was cool. Glad I got to see this thing.
Yeah.
Where can people find you at?
So pretty much most of the stuff I do with the truck is on my Instagram. It's at Diggin Z71, Diggin_Z71. I do most of my posting there. So
Go follow him. You're gonna see more of this thing, and I'll definitely be back here when you get this thing cranked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
On some more race gas.
Yeah, I wish that we had some today, but the drums are empty.